Kia ora, good evening. Tragedy struck Boston, USA today as runners in the Boston Marathon became targets of suspected terrorism attacks. Two large explosions in quick succession just before 3 p.m. Boston time killed at least 2 and injured dozens more as runners approached the finish line. The explosives were placed 90 metres apart along the finishing route of the marathon, and each scene resulted in multiple casualties. Boston police are treating the situation as ongoing as they investigate possible more explosions. Athletics New Zealand says 45 New Zealanders registered to run the marathon. Mike Piper of Invercargill was at today's race supporting a troop of runners. He spoke to us from his hotel room about 100 metres from the marathon's finish line.
At the time of the bombing, I was out on the course at the 39k mark following some of my friends who were runners. As it did happen latterly in the race, I was actually waiting for a runner who was one of the slower runners, and that runner hasn't been able to finish the race because they closed the course. The police were incredible, actually. They for 2.5 hours non-stop, there was just nothing but sirens, and they closed the road, the whole route off towards the finish, mainly because they were concerned that there might have been other bombs in rubbish bins and things like that. So they cleared everyone off the main streets. Once it happened, there was just a constant influx of people running, sobbing down from the blast, the stand itself at the finishing line.
Can you describe reaction from Boston locals, Mike?
Oh, they're saddened by the whole thing. It's always been considered a safe city, and for an event like this, you see, it's a public holiday here, Margot. It's Patriots' Day, and it's an iconic event because it's very historical. There's significance not only of the marathon but of Patriots' Day, and it's left a sour taste in everyone's minds. But I'd have to say it was interesting watching the military and the police move into action. The ironical thing is that, of course, there's virtually a medical field hospital at the finishing line, so there were medics all over the place, right on the scene. Sure, they didn't have all the equipment to deal with a bomb blast, but at least there were medics there.
Are you feeling safe? Are you fearful that there may be more?
No, I don't think there'll be any more. They were targeting this race. The sad thing is, it's sad for Boston, and more so it's sad for the Boston Marathon for the future. Because security for this race has always been tremendous. I was talking to one of the police just before I got back in tonight, and apparently the whole area had been checked by the bomb squad prior, and it appears at this early stage, and I can't confirm this, but it's hearsay, that the bombs may have been just dropped off in duffel bags or something like that. And security cameras will have coverage. So, but there were also, I understand, there was at least one other, may have been more bombs that didn't detonate. One of them in a hotel about 100 metres to the other side of Copley Square.
Briquettes may be available for local consumers in the near future as Solid Energy ramps up its Mataura plant. The plant is in the final stages of commissioning briquette production, and if all goes well, it could soon enter commercial operation. Solid Energy says if the plant achieves continuous operation as part of its performance testing and meets required standards, it could be commissioned as early as next week. The company was unable to compare prices to other thermal energy products, but say consumers will need to burn less because it's dry. The plant cost $25 million to build. Petrol prices have fallen again, now at their lowest level in close to a year. The latest fall saw prices drop 2 cents a litre. Regular petrol is now close to $2.08 and diesel is $1.44. It's the 5th time prices have dropped in a month. AA says the fall is again due to the stronger Kiwi dollar and sustained falls in commodity prices for refined fuels. However, it says the cut was not enough and there was room for a 4-cent cut. Retail prices are now at their lowest levels since July 2012. Stay with us after the break. We find out what gas exploration could mean for Southport. Welcome back. Work on the Waituna Lagoon has cost Environment Southland close to $2.4 million. The lagoon has been identified as being in danger of flipping to the point of no return due to increased sediment and nutrient in the waterways. Environment Southland figures show $1.87 million has been spent on a response over the past 2 years. For the financial year to June 30th, costs of $1.38 million have been budgeted, although for the year to date there are around $523,000. Workers included rebattering, site-specific investigation and project management costs. Future exploration in the Great South Basin is still under consideration by a consortium led by Shell, with an internal decision to commit to drilling a well expected by the third quarter of 2013. Sarah Bedford spoke to Southport Chief Executive Mark O'Connor about what it could mean for the port if the project moves ahead.
We've had dialogue and ongoing contact with Roland Spow and his team at Shell GSB over the last 12 to 15 months. Roland was good enough to come down to Southland about 12 months ago and address our board and present to our board and give us some flavour for the objectives of the potential exploration campaign. So, yeah, we've had some good constructive dialogue with the Shell GSB personnel, yeah, we watched that development with interest.
What could it potentially be worth for Southport and for Southland?
Well, Roland and his team made it very clear at the briefing yesterday in Invercargill that short term with the exploration campaign, if that does move forward, it's only a 40-day operational window. It's pretty much a short, sharp effort to confirm whether there's hydrocarbons in the targeted location or not. So in that short-term scenario, there won't be a lot of benefit. There will be some economic upside for certain suppliers who can assist the campaign, but realistically, not a big boost.
I guess looking longer term, if they were to follow through and found gas there, would you be looking to have to offer a better deal than Port Otago to get them coming here to Bluff?
Well, the drill location has a large influence over where the support base is located. So the two indicative drill locations or potential drill locations that Shell have highlighted are certainly closer to Dunedin and Port Otago than they are to Southland and Southport. And that will be an influencing factor. We see that further down the path, if there is a commercial find of hydrocarbons and gas, then either region could potentially support the ongoing production of that resource. So our objective is probably medium to long term rather than the short term, although we would be certainly ready and available to assist during the exploration stage as well.
Emergency service staff met in Invercargill today to look at ways to encourage community engagement and how this could help in fighting and preventing fires. Around 15 people were at the meeting, including staff from the Southern Rural Fire Authority, New Zealand Fire Service and Emergency Management Southland. Giving advice on how to get people involved was Bank of Ideas Director Peter Kenyon.
Look, today we're kind of like having a conversation about the involvement of kind of like the emergency and fire services with local communities, all about local community engagement, what it is that actually starts to get people excited to want to join in the process with their neighbours to start looking at things like fire readiness, fire preparation, and how do we as communities kind of like become part of all of that process.
Why do you think that's something that's important?
Look, at the end of the day, I think after family, community matters. I think today it's impossible for anyone to deliver services, including fire and emergency services, without the support of local communities. We need to engage communities in the process. And so looking at ways to get people excited and participating in all that process, I think is pretty essential. Unfortunately today, people at the local level and at community level, at the street level, are engaging less and less with their neighbour, less and less with community. We've got to reverse that, and including when it comes to this issue of fire and emergency services.
How do you think that needs to be done?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's fundamentally all about building relationships. I think in the past we think as long as we throw a lot of information at people and we wave the finger at people that somehow they're going to respond and become responsible citizens. Well, I don't think that works. I think today it's really about getting people re-engaged with each other. And we use the oldest tool in the toolbox. It's called conversation. Create situations where people come together and start talking about issues and matters that really matter, but do it in an environment that is attractive, that's friendly, and really is based on conversation and not just throwing information at people.
For Southland, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge in actually doing this?
Look, I think just generally it's the challenge that every community, I think across the globe, I think generally communities are not what they used to be. People are not engaged. I mean, I come from Australia. The evidence tells us now that we have people over for dinner half as often as we did 10 years ago. We're likely to be on our kids' parents and friends group at the local school committee probably half as often as we were 7 years ago. We're likely to go on a family picnic probably half as often as we did 5 years ago. How do we change that? How do we start getting people re-engaged? How do we start getting people to want to talk to the neighbour, work with a neighbour, converse with a neighbour? And I think a lot of it is about getting back to basics. It's about, getting people together over a meal, getting people together over the barbie, getting people together in a social setting. I think we've got to recreate a sense of neighbourhoodness and a sense of community. And I think that is the biggest challenge we face.
Over 70 Thailand students converged at council chambers in Invercargill this morning. Students from Prince's Royal College in Chiang Mai and another contingent from Bangkok met with Mayor Tim Shadbolt and other council officials. The students are here for around 8 weeks and they posted at 7 Southland schools, including primary, intermediate and secondary. Some students took special English lessons prior to their arrival, and those who spoke today said they were impressed with the people, school, environment and culture they have experienced in the South. Part of the contingent are from the Education Southland program, worth $20 million a year to the Southland economy. And that's all from the news team this Tuesday. Stay with us for sport, where we talk to Southern Steel assistant coach Natalie Avellino following the team's close loss at the weekend. That's along after the weather next. From the news team, good night.